So it's that time of the day. It's 4:30, I believe, in Dubai. Welcome to Zeeshan and Theodora. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're talking about the spa. Sorry, I'm going to put on mute. Oh no, I can't. Shall we start? Here we go. I think there's someone still talking in the background, isn't it? Can you hear me? That's the main thing. Can you hear me? Theodora and Zeeshan, welcome.
Thank you, Valerie.
Welcome to our session, the last of the day. So very excited to be presenting to you this. We're going to discuss the 5 pillars of success when it comes to spa and beauty salons. And we had a little bit of a chat yesterday, so I'm very excited to this session because you've got a wealth of knowledge to bring in a different angle as mine as well. So yeah, very excited. Sometimes we are accepting all your kind of questions that you might have at the end of the session. Please write them down on the chat. We are here to answer all the questions that you have, but perhaps you want to introduce yourselves. Perhaps Theodora, do you want to start maybe by saying a little bit of your background and what you do?
No worries. It's a pleasure to be here today. So I'm Theodora from Something Design House. I am an architect that specializes in creating wellness, spa and fitness projects. I've been doing this for over 20 years now and within the region for 13 years. And we specialize in helping our clients create their brand and also turning it into an experience, a physical experience that the guests can actually enjoy.
Amazing. That's incredible. Thank you so much. And what about you, Zeeshan?
Thank you, Valerie. I have been into the media business and startup business consultancy for around 16 years, 17 years. At present, I do consult companies, especially the startups, how to manage and increase their profitability, plus helping them optimize their offerings better for digital world.
Incredible, all well needed. And I'm Valerie Delforge. For those who don't know me, I'm an international business strategist consultant. I focus my consultancy on spas and salons who want to increase their profitability, focus on their leadership. We look at also anything to do with marketing strategy. We also look at anything to do with online training, as well as physical training when we can go back into salons with retail sales. And last but not least, I do a lot of focus on reception and what happens on reception, which is that big element of the customer journey. So in essence, we'd like to talk to you about 5 key subjects. And we're going to start with the importance of that customer journey, because whether it's with digital or whether it is with the actual fit of the customer journey, it's really important to get it right. And even when I talk about retail, I talk about the customer journey, because if the customer journey is good, is on point, and we feel good, and the client feel good, they're more inclined to purchase from you. So when it comes to perhaps the start of the journey, which is the design, I guess, what are you looking for, Theodora?
There's a variety of things. We literally dive into the heads of the clients and actually try to establish what they're wanting to achieve within space and within their brand. We continue that through by actually walking through the whole process of what they envision the whole experience would be, up and from basically from the very beginning of answering the phone and taking the appointment, or even doing it online, going through what the experience would be as soon as you walk through the door, and then the kind of services them through, and even to right to the end to the checkout. So from that, we actually then create, with a fusion of understanding their kind of brand, then create a space that it allows 2 things. The thing that the staff can actually work functionally without the space and be seamless, so that they arrive and disappear without the guests actually realizing it. It's quite smooth and the whole experience is smooth. and then also having points throughout the journey where the therapist or the staff can actually educate the guests of the brand and the experience, and get to know them and feel a bit more comfortable within the space.
I love that. I mean, I always find that in particular in spas, we've always got the customer journey thought of on the design purpose, but somehow, and we do that when we have training with managers or retail training, we realize the therapist or the reception is not necessarily fully aware of the customer journey. They kind of trained to a certain extent, but they don't really know the details and the thought process behind it. They just know, oh, I need to do that because my manager kind of told me. They don't understand the element of them and the client. Do you find that's right?
Yeah, we have noticed over the years as well that is something that's an issue. Once we're actually on board with the design, and what we try to do is actually have a simulation of, we design it, it's constructed, and when we're handing it over to the team, basically we explain what we envisioned for the brand would be, and we try to help whoever's going to be the trainee, whoever's going to be training the staff, that they can actually make sure that, look, reception is key. They need to know the brand inside and out. They need to live and breathe it. They need to know basically what the latest products are, what the services are, how to actually recommend it, and also actually, if they can't, get the right person to bring it in, because they are the first person usually that the guest will see or speak to on the phone. So they need to be well educated about what the business offers.
For sure. And this is kind of seen as well on social, isn't it, Zeeshan? It's like the whole customer journey, again, is not necessarily thought of by the team as such, and yet is such a valuable aspect of positioning the brand.
Absolutely. So, Valerie, the brands which are winning today online are the ones who are masters of two things. One, they know the art of storytelling. Number two, they know the art of acquiring or engaging the consumer when the consumer is not looking at their brand, but it's just looking at the service, like the general service. So, for example, if I'm looking for the best water to drink or the most healthiest water, if a particular brand can tap me at that moment when I'm searching for the category, not the brand, this is where the brands win. So so the user journey starts exactly as you are saying. I mean, from uh, uh, it's exactly like the reception, what you are saying, that reception has to be much more trained and so on and so forth. And similarly, companies have to have more, they have to tap storytelling. And there's the other thing which I was telling to you about is called zero moment of truth. So this is where they need to tap their customers.
For sure. But they don't, I feel that they're not, I mean, there's such an increase, when I tell my daughters in my day, we didn't have Google or Facebook, it's just like, I'm like a dinosaur as far as they're concerned, like, what do you mean? It's not perceivable. But equally for spa managers or salon owners, it's quite difficult to get into the kind of another element of their business, isn't it? Which really is ultimately where the customer journey starts. Can I find you online? Do my team even knows that we do Facebook? Do my team even know that we look at Google, at reviews and everything else? It's like a whole different dimension.
Absolutely. And Valerie, talking about reviews, reviews management has become an industry on its own. I mean, there you need to have, if you are serious for your business, you need to have a strategy even to tackle your reviews. So, yeah. I mean, it is no longer just about putting a post on Facebook or Instagram.
No, for sure. For sure. I keep telling my clients, it's all about reviews. So I'd rather you have a strong review than a Facebook that's hardly done or halfway done or once in a while done, because reviews, I'm going to believe Jane, who's coming to your business. I've never met Jane, but she's telling me she had an amazing time. So as a client, suddenly you kind of really make up your mind, isn't it? Purely on review purposes. That's so true. And it can be quite stressful for the managers and the owners to kind of, or even in the spa world, they have a different department, isn't it, for marketing. So that's quite difficult for them to assess.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, the thing is, digital is considered to be, I hope COVID-19 changes it. I think it has changed it to a certain extent. But it is no longer a job of one admin person. It needs to be dealt professionally to get results.
My worst nightmare is when I've got a client who tells me, oh yeah, I give it to my 19-year-old receptionist because she's good at it. And it's
Yes.
the grammar, the words, the hashtags, all of it. Yes, she might be good for her audience, but we were talking about that, Theodora, yesterday, isn't it? How do we track that target market? It's basically back down to that.
Yeah, I think a key thing also is that your management of the spa team and also the team themselves, as well as whoever is actually looking after the marketing, whether it's them or a third party, or even if it's a hotel, the hotel marketing team, they need to have a good connection together and how they work with each other. They need to forward plan it. And most importantly, they need to understand the essence of the brand and what they're wanting to portray, and what they need to actually portray for their target market. So if they're actually looking to actually attract Generation X or Z, actually this way, basically they need to actually then go, does TikTok, does Instagram, or even Facebook actually, are they going to be the target audience, the platforms to actually then use to actually get their attention? How do I actually portray the brand so that it's authentic? How do I actually make them feel comfortable to actually use it? How do I actually make it feel real and informative? And it's not just always a selling product, but it's interesting and they get to know my team as well. So there needs to be a very, very strong influence with that. And then that needs to then translate into the design. It needs to actually incorporate your 5 senses. So when you go into the spa itself, there needs to be a signature kind of smell when you walk in, so you know that's the one that you're talking to, or that's a salon that it is. What menu do they serve for the food and the refreshments afterwards, how they welcome you, everything is interlocked together, and it needs to be done as authentic as possible so they know who they're focusing on.
I love that. And I think that's going to our second kind of pillar that I wanted to discuss today, which is the importance of design and maybe the latest industry kind of trends. But that also, to me, design is not just a design of the spa. Again, it goes back to the design of what we do in campaigns, on social, on email marketing and all of that. What do you have to say about that, Zeeshan, when it comes to design of what they're trying to deliver?
Actually, digital, whatever communication, it boils down to what you said in the opening line about you, Valerie, and I really liked it when you said that you help spas to have better reception environment. Basically, let me put it this way. So digital is your environment. It's your reception when the customer is not physically at your place. And it starts from that thing that lot of the websites and the social, exactly like you were saying, like Theodora just said, that mentioned that we need to have their staff over there. There needs to be synergy, basically, what they are doing. So let's COVID now. It's not only about us. As we also discussed this yesterday, personalization, about personalizing the digital activities, not only calling the customers by name, but going into the detail that what they are afraid of at the moment. So at this moment, everybody would want to know how well my spa is sterilized. How clean my the premises is. Is there any certification which is available by the authorities, and is this A+ authorized? Let's say, for example, here some restaurants in Dubai, they have some kind of authorization. So which government authorizes them that they are sterilized. So yes, the customer journey, whatever you want to say, you need to know how to translate it to images. You need to know how to translate it to that 5-second or 10-second small that GIFs to communicate to your customers properly, and tap into try to tap into the motivation triggers. Exactly how would you give a discount? How would you tell if somebody, you call somebody that, we are doing this, we are doing that. You need to now start saying it in an image, through an image to the customers.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And sometimes I find that what happens online is not happening in the spa, because there's a disparity of time between, we have an offer and it's stopped online, it's gone to the next month's offer, but on the spa, it's kind of still talking about last month. And it's just that kind of disparity of messages. And I keep saying to my clients, too many messages kills the message. Stop thinking that by, pushing too much out, you're actually not getting much in return, because the client becomes confused. And I'm assuming it's the same with design, isn't it, Theodora? It's like...
Yeah, information overload is a problem in general. And now with everything with the pandemic and so forth, we need to be very sensitive of how we actually translate information and information correctly. You do want to actually make sure that, look, most salons and spas have always been very sanitized, and there's a very particular way over the process of keeping everything through. There has been a revisit on how that's approached in the last year, and there has been some very, very fantastic amendments to it, and there's been teaching of how to do that as well. But what is a good idea is that when you're doing your marketing and you're designing your approach as well for the industry, is if you've actually got some key points that you want to show through, that it's safe to come back, we do sanitizing, your health and your well-being is the utmost of our importance, and also our teams as well. There is air purification that can happen now in systems, slight education about that. And then in relation to spa deals and marketing and so forth, keep it simple and keep it also relevant to the current moment. At the present moment, a lot of people are a little bit still uncomfortable about how they interact. So you could actually, you don't want to lose the touch and feel, because that's what you do, what you want to come to when you come to a salon, you want to come to a beauty salon, or you want to come to a spa. But you need to actually engage how you can do that in a smart way, that it gives the TLC to the client and the guest, but it maintains them feeling comfortable to come back.
Yeah, is that definitely that kind of a connection? I keep talking about connection at the moment. Let's not forget we're a company, an industry that loves connection. One of the best form of marketing for us in between lockdown, because we've been on lockdown for a long time, in 2 big lockdowns, is that phone call, is that kind of personalization of the messages. And sometimes I feel it's massive disparity, and we need to go back to basic a little bit, I think, sometimes. And the social, anything that happens on social becomes that kind of building the brand that is making you way up there above the competition, as far as I'm concerned. Don't know what you think, Zeeshan, of that, but...
Absolutely. So, and Valerie, one of the problems which I face sometimes consulting clients, and even my team they face, is that when we go because ultimately we speak with the owners of the companies, the big bosses, and they do not understand that what is wrong in having again an 18-year-old doing their content, doing their social media posts, and also promoting it and doing everything. What is wrong in it? So one of the questions which I've started asking for past couple of months, and it has been working for me, is that I open their own feed, Instagram feed, and I open their website in front of them, and I tell them that if you were a customer, would you buy from this company? So, and 99%, actually it's 100%. 100% of the times the owner said no, we will not. I said, this is not the right dipstick test, but at least you should be willing to buy from this company. Once you go, let's say for us in our language, when we go to any Instagram feed, we call it that you have 2 to 3 scrolls with the user. The user comes, somehow you bring the quality traffic on your Instagram feed. You have 2 to 3 scrolls. He will scroll once, he will scroll twice. If you are lucky, he will scroll thrice. This is the third chance he's giving you. If you have not made the impact, he will go. That's it. you do all the efforts to bring the traffic, and if your physical design of your premises or the way you have put up your offerings on digital is not up to the mark, it will never make an impact.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think this is how we, and that's the third kind of pillar we wanted to discuss, do you think that's how you achieve that growth digitally? How do we achieve that growth digitally? We need to know the client, I guess, to some extent, who we want to attract.
Right. So first of all, there is no business who's targeting everybody. So this is the first thing which they need to know. So they can be as normal as selling. And they may be a water company, but still they are not for everybody. So first of all, we call it in our in digital language we call it personification. We need to define their personas, and then yes, from there we need to take it up. The one key thing which all the companies miss, and they are not willing to understand still, is that organic growth takes time on digital.
Yeah.
And it needs investments. It is no longer, again, I fear myself of repeating, but it is no longer about just wishing Eid Mubarak, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. It is much beyond that. The targeting, the remarketing, so on.
Yeah, for sure. It's a job in itself. I mean, what I feel is my clients, when I look at their social, and it's not their job, so they kind of understand to some extent. Some of them are better than others, don't get me wrong. It's not all terrible. But the difficulties in spas is they don't have necessarily the hang on, the kind of say when it comes to marketing and digital. So there's a bit of disparity between what the hotel does, for example, what the marketing department does and what the spa should get. The other side, I feel that when we have got other support, we don't feed them the information of what we want. And that's why I keep talking about marketing strategy, which is what we focus on, not necessarily giving you thousands of followers. It's all about that strategy around how am I going to make that marketing work from a digital point of view, from in-spark point of view, from the kind of events point of view. So it's a 360-degree angle, and a bit like visual merchandising, which we discussed yesterday a little bit, Theodora, when all that matters, isn't it, when it comes to that kind of growth and buying your brand, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think something that, if you can take away anything mainly from this session, is the concept that your team is the key and your manager is basically the person that is the interconnection between everyone. They need to, even if they're the spa manager that is linked directly to a hotel, they need to be hands-on enough to actually control the message that is delivered in the marketing. I think everyone needs to, especially in this age now, marketing is how you get your revenue. And social media is now your form of how you get your revenue. So you need to know on point what your brand is and what you're trying to articulate with that, who your target market is, and how they want to actually, you need to be both authentic and be able to get them to trust you. And you need to be authentic within your social media and also when you're at the spa, the same process. And so all of that needs to actually be done. And one little small advice, I might not be the social media expert here, but don't overfill them with deals on social media.
Oh God, yeah.
To actually allow for a little bit of education, a little bit of fun. Yes, wishing people happy Ramadan or happy Easter and so forth is a very good thing as well. Maybe tailoring it a little bit as well so that it's for the individual. Deals are important, and people knowing about your products and your online stuff as well. But if people get inundated with things that they need to purchase or are trying to purchase, they're going to lose interest and put you on mute.
Yeah.
So the idea of it is you need to make sure that you engage with your right audience and also keep them engaged, and then link that back to your physical space where you can go back to, and make sure that the connection between the two are very well gelled so that it allows the therapist to then do their job as well when the guest actually comes and returns to the physical space.
I love that. And it comes to really the fourth point, which is how to manage your teams to increase profitability. So it's all about the leadership. And I love that, you know, in terms of when I talk about leadership, yes, it's leading your team forward, but also your business forward and yourself, your mindset, and what you want to push as a business to grow the business. And I agree with you so much on the deals. When you look at all the deals, you're like, well, you're only going to attract that type of client, and you're not bringing in the value of you as an expert can bring to those potential clients as well. So you're not making any space for that. So when we look at the team profitability, for me, it starts with the customer journey, a strong consultation, and seeing every client as an opportunity for them to look at their, you know, the growth that they have with you as a business. And we talk a lot of, when we do retail training, we've created 2 characters. We've got Brenda, who's been with you for a long time. You've known her. She always comes to you. How do we upsell to her? How do we kind of retail to her? And then we've got Nancy. Nancy's brand new. So you can see it's very English names, but you know, Nancy's very new. She's brand new to you. I mean, that in itself, we should find out where she's come from, really, in terms of, did she find us on social? Was she recommended? Because there's an element of your expertise that is so strong, and the team profitability increases the minute they understand the value of each client within the business. But if you see them as they're coming in, they've just got a 2-for-1 offer, you're just not really increasing any value to them, apart from the fact that they like offers. Now, I don't mind offers when we do a lot of things, you know, in terms of the yield management, which is okay to some extent, but it's not necessarily a long-term strategy, isn't it, Zeeshan? I'm sure you've got a few things to say on that.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I love this point of Theodora, but you know what she brought up is, so actually, you know, companies, they need to understand that social is a human being as well. You know, how, like, for example, if I want to do business with you, Valerie, how will I create a relationship with you which is meaningful? I mean, I cannot sit at every moment and speak with you and pitch you that, you know what, Valerie, let me handle your social media account. Or let me, you know, if you have somebody, you know, I'll give you a referral fee. You know, we cannot just do it. So relationships are built with a lot of authenticity. The brands need to come out as authentic. This is what storytelling is about. And storytelling is also not about, this is also what people get wrong, but still, again, I'm happy, you know, there are a lot of companies who are understanding, at least they're opening their ears and they are listening to us now. It's not only about, you know, living in the fantasy land. Storytelling is also about being vulnerable. Storytelling is about being authentic. So, you know, your struggles. So it is about, like, how 2 people will create relationship together. So yes, it will take some time perhaps, but I hope, you know, things are getting better.
Yeah, for sure. But it's getting the team to understand that element of, you know, of the whole 360 journey, you know. Absolutely. And a lot of time when we do the training, they don't even know that where they can look for the reviews. They don't even check out the Facebook. They're not engaged on that 360 customer journey, which I find that, how can you increase and believe in the USP of the place, you know, of the spa or the salon you're working in, if you don't even know their USP in the first place?
Absolutely.
I'm going to be a little bit controversial and say, oh, yes, I'm not really allergic to the idea of the 2-for-1 deal. On the days, because if you actually drive it in the correct manner, on the days that you find within the spa or the salon that are the low days, and this is where it's vital that the manager and the team know what's happening in their own place, and they know their revenue as well. So say, for example, Tuesdays is your low day. Having a special that invites people to the 2-for-1 or something like that on the Tuesday to drag them so they've got the revenue coming through, but then educating the team to make sure that they try their best to either upsell, get a rebooking from the guest, or retail and so forth, is the imperative. Literally, the profitability of the business is very, very simple. Train your staff as much as you can. Train them on your brand, train them on their products, train them on the experience, train them on understanding what revenue is and what is the expectation for every person's individual sales requirement, and train them how to sell, whether it's a product or retail, and how to be authentic while doing it. The problem is a lot of people are very allergic to the idea of selling. It's not selling if you honestly believe and trust what your product is and what you're offering to your guests. You're not selling to them, you're helping them. And I think that's the mindset that they need. A lot of the therapists, a lot of the actual managers, and even the training, it's vital. Your team is going to make sure whether or not you are there next year or you're profitable. So it's very key. And like, I can make a pretty picture and make a beautiful design, and it can be in the most functional space possible. But if your team doesn't use it properly, and it doesn't use it to entice people to actually return and trust it, then it was just a beautiful building or a beautiful design. You need to make sure also within your reception, you have a good space that has retail, because if you're smart with how you train your team, they can do something up to 20% of their revenue in retail a month. And it's not because they're shoving it down someone's throat, is because they know how to speak to their guests, and their guests trust them, that they're getting the best advice from them. And the reception design element of that as well, it should be in a space, it shouldn't be in a cabinet in the corner. Sometimes that works, but I wouldn't recommend it. It needs to be basically a space where the guests can feel comfortable. Okay, COVID at the present moment, not necessarily, so we have to rejiggle that a little bit, but touch and feel. They need to be able to feel like as if they can go into the retail space like a souk or a market and touch and have a look and see what it is. And you'll find when they enter at the end to the checkout, they will come and go, okay, yes, I would like to grab this extra, and so forth. Now with the COVID elements as well, there is different ways that you can approach this. But basically, at least then you can actually direct this properly and make sure that your team can actually upsell within the space.
I mean, we do a lot of retail training, so you're talking my language. I'm absolutely loving it, and it's so true, you know, in everything that you're saying. The issue for me when it comes to retail training, or the consistency, or the 2-for-1 deals. Now, again, I'm the same. That's why I talk about yield management, which is a bit like the hotel. You try to, you know, sell a treatment at a cheaper price rather than not selling it at all on certain key days. My only issue is two things. Number one is we don't really analyze the cost per treatment. We don't really analyze the profitability. We don't really analyze the budget. So we're just doing it on the off chance. Let me just check it. Oh yes, we'll just take these two treatment together and put it together and put that on a Tuesday. So there's no strategy behind why we're doing what we're doing, and has that got a damage in a long term for this particular treatment perhaps that you're pushing. Are those treatments profitable in the first place? Because if they're not, already you are kind of on a minus. You may as well just not do it at all. So there's kind of an element, and that's why we talk, when I do a you know, consultancy, I talk about budget and I talk about marketing strategy. It's kind of all linked, and this is why it's so exciting to talk to you two in different elements of the business, because it's all linked. Everything is linked together. And my second issue when it comes to kind of, you know, retail, for example, is the culture. And I talk about retail culture, as you can see, is my passion coming back out, Theodora. You've kind of poked me here. And, you know, the kind of retail culture has to come from the manager. If they expect only the therapist to deliver, it's not going to happen. It has to come from the manager. It has to come from the design point of view. I mean, I'm all for you, you know, when you say in the, oh God, countless of time we've done mystery shops, and you're like, we can't even have a connection with the product, but it has to be kind of detailed by the manager. So again, with retail, for me, it's down to the marketing, the merchandising, the, you know, everything to do that is allowing us the reception. Again, it's got a big part to play, the consultation, customer journey, you know, and the managers himself to bring in that culture around it. So my problem when it comes to marketing or when it comes to retail sales is just everything I have noticed is very lastminute.com. And lastminute.com just gives us lastminute.com results, and it's not coherent to the bigger picture. So the last but not point, and I'm being told we are needing to closing soon, but is the importance of consistency and quality. I think we all agree, and we all love that word consistency, because I feel for me, if there's no follow-ups, there will never be consistency. What would you want to finish on?
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency. And that's why the training and the revisiting of everything is vital. Because if there's no consistency throughout the whole approach, you're not going to maintain the authenticity of the brand. And eventually you're going to upset your guest, who is your target market. So there needs to be it needs to be persistent for the brand. And you need to be diligent about it, and also revamp, and then sometimes have some fun with it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And and that's what I love. I love the fact that you're thinking of that customer journey in so many details. It's just brilliant. That gives the consistency, I guess, in itself, isn't it? Yeah. And what about you, Zeeshan? What would you say?
I would just like to wrap it up with 2 points. One is high professionals. I mean, it's not an expense, it is investment. Number 2, if you don't want to hire them and you want to keep everything in-house, consult them. I mean, that's it. I mean, you will not lose. If you get the right person to consult you, you will not lose. And yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's such a delight to meet two of you. It's been really, really interesting. Thank you everyone for watching. And now we have our lovely Susan, the co-founder of Wellbeing. Thank you so much, Susan, for having us.
Thank you guys. I have to confess, I had to be convinced of a virtual event because I'm a committed in-person person. Yeah. Having been sort of 25 years in the events industry. I'm still very young, but I've always lived by the mantra of obviously interpersonal relationships and meeting people personally, etc. But I have to say it's the times that we live in, and we committed to it. And I can't take credit at all for any of the technicalities today, because it's been managed through my colleagues, who I think have done an excellent job. I probably would have had a sort of a slight nervous breakdown had it been left to me to sort out. But I want to thank everybody for their contribution today. I feel quite strongly that this event is an excellent vehicle for people to gain advice, invaluable advice, in fact, on things that affect them in various elements of their life. And particularly after the events of the last year, it's been very, very trying. I think people have had to adjust to various things, get out of their comfort zone, which is never easy either. So I'm quite proud of what we've put together today, and I'm very proud that you were all able to join us and make such an invaluable contribution, not only to the community, but I also think wide to the event in general moving forward. So I'm happy to announce that in November we can all meet in the flesh. It'll be nice to sort of meet each other in the flesh again, in the case of Valerie, hopefully, and you two as well, Zeeshan and Theodora. We haven't got the event dates yet though, have we? But we'll be announcing it soon, and looking forward to developing our discussions, and also, developing the subject areas or bringing in new ones. We have big ambitions for this event. We obviously had to cancel last year's event because of COVID, but I think today has been an excellent knowledge vehicle for everybody, and thank you all. Thank you.